Look at Argentina's World Cup squad. Really look at it. 26 players representing a nation of 45 million people. And as they line up for the national anthem, as the camera pans across face after face after face, something becomes impossible to ignore. There are no black players, not one that the world would recognize as Afro-descendant. Now look at the teams around them. Brazil, filled with black players. France, filled with black players. England, the Netherlands, even neighboring Uruguay, black players in every squad. But Argentina, a wall of European faces, Italian surnames, Spanish surnames, a team that looks like it could be representing Italy instead of a South American nation. And most people watching will assume that's just how Argentina is. That's just their population. Nothing strange about it. But here's what they don't know. In the 1700s, nearly half of Argentina was black. In some provinces, black people were the majority. So the question isn't why Argentina's team looks European. The question is, what happened to all the black people who should be on that team? The answer is one of the darkest and most deliberate chapters in the history of the Americas. And the World Cup just put it on a global stage for everyone to see.
They erased Greenwood from the textbooks. They banned the books that told the truth. Your grandparents lived through history nobody ever wrote down for them. And now they've demonetized this channel for telling you exactly what you're watching right now. Different tools, same silencing. So we put it in a book. 150 crimes against Black America they never answered for. 150 of them. Every massacre, every stolen acre, every buried name, documented and sourced across 176 pages no algorithm can delete, demonetize, or ban. Buying that book is what keeps this channel alive now. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. If this channel ever taught you something they didn't want you to know, get the book. Keep the record in your hands. Thank you for standing with us. Now, back to the story.
Let's start with what you can see with your own eyes, because this is the part nobody can argue with. Argentina's squad is built on names like Messi, Martinez, Romero, Otamendi, De Paul, Paredes, Alvarez, Molina, Tagliafico, Montiel. Italian and Spanish surnames almost without exception. This isn't an accident of one tournament. Look back at Argentina's World Cup teams across decades, 1978, 1986, 2014, 2022. The same pattern. A South American nation fielding a team that looks indistinguishable from a Southern European one. Now compare that to the rest of South America. Brazil, Argentina's greatest rival, has fielded legendary black players for a century. Pelé, Ronaldinho, Vinicius Jr. Uruguay, which shares a border and a nearly identical colonial history, fields black stars like Darwin Núñez. Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, all field visibly Afro-descendant players. Argentina stands alone, the whitest national team in South America by a wide margin. And that's not because black people were never there. Because here's the fact that breaks the whole illusion. In the late 1700s, Argentina was one of the most African nations in the Americas. In Buenos Aires, the capital, between 30 and 40% of the population was black. In some provinces like Santiago del Estero and Catamarca, the figure was over 50%. Argentina imported hundreds of thousands of enslaved Africans. They built the economy. They fought in the wars. They created the culture, including the tango, which traces its roots directly to African rhythms. So a country that was once nearly half black now fields a national team with no black players and claims a black population of under 1%. That does not happen naturally. Populations do not just evaporate. Somebody made a decision, and that decision has a name, a date, and a documented paper trail. The man most responsible was Domingo Faustino Sarmiento, president of Argentina from 1868 to 1874. And he wasn't secretive about his beliefs. He was an open, committed white supremacist who wrote about the need to replace Argentina's black and indigenous populations with European stock. But understand, this wasn't just one man. It was a national project, embraced by Argentina's entire ruling class, and they executed it through 4 deliberate strategies. First, they used war as population control. During the War of the Triple Alliance against Paraguay in the 1860s, black men were conscripted at dramatically higher rates than white men and placed on the front lines. The government knew these units would take catastrophic casualties. Sending black men to die in disproportionate numbers wasn't a side effect of the war. For the architects of the Whitening Project, it was a feature. Second, they weaponized disease. Black communities were concentrated in the poorest, most neglected neighborhoods with no sanitation infrastructure. When the yellow fever epidemic swept Buenos Aires in 1871, it tore through those neighborhoods and killed them at rates far higher than the white population who had the resources to flee the city. The government watched it happen and did nothing because the outcome served the goal. Third, and this is the engine of the whole project, they orchestrated one of the largest state-sponsored immigration campaigns in world history. Between 1857 and 1940, Argentina brought in over 6.5 million European immigrants, Italians, Spaniards, Germans. For a country whose total population was tiny at the start of that period, this was demographic replacement on a massive scale. The stated goal, written openly by Argentina's intellectual founders like Juan Bautista Alberti, was to improve the racial stock of the nation by drowning the existing population in European blood. And fourth, they erased the survivors from the record. By 1875, the government simply stopped counting black people in the census. The remaining Afro-Argentines were reclassified, folded into vague categories that made them statistically disappear. Their history was cut from textbooks. Their contribution to the tango was rewritten as European. And within 2 generations, the country had convinced itself that black people had simply never been there. Now, I need to be honest with you about something, because the smartest people watching are already thinking it. Some historians push back on the word genocide here. They argue the population decline came more from intermarriage, the end of the slave trade, and those war and disease casualties combined, rather than a single coordinated extermination order. That debate is real, and I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But here's what's not up for debate. Whether you call it genocide or engineered demographic replacement, the result was the same. A population that was nearly 50% black was reduced to under 1% through policies the government chose. The intent is documented in their own words, and the proof is standing on a soccer field right now in a lineup with no black faces. If this is hitting you hard, join our WhatsApp channel where I go deeper. The link is in the pinned comment. Tap it now. The most chilling part of this story isn't the killing, it's the forgetting. In 1996, the president of Argentina, Carlos Menem, was asked about the country's African heritage. His response, a direct quote, was, "In Argentina, blacks do not exist. That is a Brazilian problem." The president of the country said black people didn't exist, and he wasn't lying from his perspective. He was describing the successful outcome of a project that began over a century earlier. The erasure was so complete that the head of state genuinely believed, or was willing to publicly claim, that black Argentines had never existed at all. This is what makes Argentina's case different from every other country in the Americas. In the United States, Brazil, and the Caribbean, the descendants of enslaved Africans remained a visible, undeniable part of the population. Their presence forced the country to reckon with its history, however incompletely. But Argentina achieved something almost unique. It didn't just oppress its black population. It made them statistically and culturally vanish, and then it erased the memory that they had ever been there. And that's why the World Cup matters. Because for 90 minutes in front of a global audience of billions, the result of that project is on display. A team representing a nation that was once nearly half African, fielding not a single recognizable Afro-descendant player, while every other South American nation shows the world what a shared African heritage looks like. The team isn't racist for existing. The players didn't do anything wrong. Messi and his teammates are the product of a demographic reality they were born into, not one they created. But that demographic reality is not natural. It was manufactured. And every time Argentina takes the field and the world sees that wall of European faces, they are looking at the downstream result of a decision made in the 1800s, the decision to build a white nation on top of a black one. Now, a fair challenge, someone will say, Uruguay had the same history and still has black players, so maybe Argentina is just a natural outlier. It's a good question, and the answer is that Uruguay's whitening campaign existed too, but it was never as aggressive, as well-funded, or as thorough as Argentina's. Argentina imported far more European immigrants relative to its size, pursued the policies more systematically, and erased more completely. The fact that Uruguay retained a visible black population while Argentina didn't isn't evidence that Argentina was natural. It's evidence of just how extreme Argentina's project was by comparison. But here's the truth that no amount of erasure could fully bury. Afro-Argentines still exist. Despite everything, the wars, the epidemics, the demographic flooding, the census erasure, a 2005 genetic study of Buenos Aires found measurable African ancestry concentrated in a portion of the population. Over 5% of Argentines report having at least one black ancestor, and roughly 20% say they don't know whether they do or not, which is its own kind of evidence because it means the ancestry was hidden or forgotten within living families. There are Afro-Argentine organizations today, like Africa Vive, fighting to restore visibility to a community that was deliberately made invisible. There are neighborhoods in Buenos Aires, like San Telmo, where the African roots run deep beneath the surface. And there are scholars, finally, studying the history that Argentina spent a century trying to erase. The blood survived, even where the identity was stolen. And the tango, Argentina's proudest cultural export, marketed to the world as elegant and European, carries African rhythms in its bones that no amount of rebranding could ever fully remove. So when you watch Argentina play and you see that team, understand what you're actually seeing. You're not seeing a country that never had black people. You're seeing a country that erased them so successfully that the world forgot they were ever there. Until now, Argentina has no black players on its World Cup team, not because black people were never part of that nation, but because they were nearly half of it, and then they were deliberately erased. Through war, through disease, through mass European immigration engineered to replace them, and through a century of erasing them from the census, the textbooks, and the national memory. The World Cup didn't reveal a secret. The history was always there for anyone willing to look. But what the World Cup did was put the result on a stage that billions of people are watching, a living, breathing demonstration of what happens when a country decides to erase a people and then spends 150 years pretending they never existed. The next time someone tells you Argentina is just naturally a white country, show them this. Show them the numbers from the 1700s. Show them Sarmiento's own words. Show them a president in 1996 declaring that black people don't exist. And show them that team, because that team is the evidence. They tried to erase an entire people, and they almost got away with it. The only way they don't is if we keep telling the truth. So share this video, send it to everyone who watched that match and never thought to ask the question. Because the Afro-Argentines who were erased can't tell their own story anymore. That job belongs to US now. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being the kind of person who looks deeper than what they're shown. Drop a comment and tell me, did you know Argentina was once nearly half black? I want to hear from you. I'll see you in the next one.
Before you go, everything you just watched exists because viewers like you keep it alive. They demonetized this channel for telling these truths. So we put the truth in a book. 150 crimes against Black America they never answered for. 150 documented crimes, sourced, named, and impossible to erase across 176 pages that no platform can take down. Buying that book is what funds this work now. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Keep the record alive and keep it in your hands. Thank you for watching, and thank you for standing with us.